Carlson, and I am here as a representative of SERVPRO of Winston Salem North, and we handle emergencies. And our tagline is like it never even happened, and that's our goal. When you have a devastating loss in your business or your residential home, we want to come in there and get you put back together, and just like our tagline says, like it never even happened. A quick history of myself and my credentials. I've been in this industry, leaving 11 years, entering my 12th year. I've seen a lot of things, and I'm actually going to share some examples with you today around our topic where people have done things the way I would consider them correct, and where people haven't done things the way they should. And we're going to talk about that today and break it down. So I'm here to talk to you today about how will your business handle a large loss. All of us here, it's my understanding, have something in common. We're either business owners or we represent businesses, and a large loss can affect us. So let's talk about why. Well, first, let's talk about what a large loss is. So to us, a large loss, to us, the contractor, the large loss is considered a few different things, mainly if it crosses a certain amount of affected square footage. To the insurance company, lamest terms, a large loss is something where they have to set at least a minimum of $100,000 into a reserve to cover the loss. But to you guys, what's most important and what I want you to consider by definition, a large loss to you and to me as a business owner is a loss that's going to happen to our business that's going to result in us closing our doors. And that's very important for us to consider. So what is the cost of a large loss? Well, there's many factors that go into that between contractor and insurance company. But again, I want to stick to us as business owners and business representatives. What is the cost of a large loss? And to answer that, it's going to be independent to each of us. The most important question is, how much revenue will you be losing daily if your doors are closed? How much revenue will you lose? Very important question. As entrepreneurs, we cannot be closed for too much time. We will lose that revenue, and that will drastically affect us and our business and our employees and on down the line. Now, I've been a part of so many different seminars where we talk about large loss in a business, and I've heard lots of different percentages and statistics, how a certain percentage of businesses that have a large loss that results in them closing their doors, a certain percent of them don't open back up. But I've never been a part of one of those. As a matter of fact, every large loss that I've been a part of, we've gotten the business back open and the business was able to flourish again. And I'm going to share some of those examples with you today. So let's go into a few examples of where we have gone into a large loss. And then let's tie it into what you can do to try to prevent a large loss from shutting you down. So one of the very first large losses that we did in this company was a nationwide large sports department store in the Triad, and they had a sprinkler system malfunction. Sprinkler system malfunction is a very common emergency in a commercial building. If your sprinkler systems get set off, sometimes it's hard to turn them off, and the damage they cause can be catastrophic. So the sprinkler systems went off, and it immediately flooded a major part of this business. This business immediately had to get all of their customers out the door and lock their doors immediately. And they called us. So we went out there and we put together a plan. The sports department immediately told us what their revenue was a day and when they absolutely had to be open again. So that kind of gave us our timeline. We were able to have that store open back up within 14 hours. Now that was a very, very good turnaround for them. They communicated to us again exactly what they needed, exactly what they could afford, how much time they could afford to be closed down for. And then it was up to us as the professional to try to make it happen. In this case, we were fortunate to. Now we didn't have the entire store open, but the most important thing was that we had the cash registers open again, and the only thing that we had to keep closed was a small department upstairs. So this business was able to open its doors the next day and continue to survive. Another example I have that fits this mold was a restaurant that we had in Mount Airy, actually. small restaurant, and they had a sewage damage, completely opposite damage from the sprinkler system, but just as catastrophic. The management crew arrived in the morning, and sewage literally flooded this entire restaurant, bathrooms, the restaurant dining area, the kitchen. And so they could not open their doors that day. They called us. We immediately got out there, assessed the situation, and the guy was prepared for what his daily loss of revenue would be. So for each day his restaurant was closed, he knew that he was losing this much money per day. And he communicated to us that he could not be closed for more than 48 hours, so that would be absolutely catastrophic to his operation. So we put together a plan, and we had him back open within the 48 hours. It required a major effort on our part. We had to replace all of his carpet. We had to do an intense amount of cleaning. We had to rebuild his salad bar and his concession area. But we made it happen, because that's what we do. We try to get businesses open again so they can go back to doing what it is that they do. So what can be learned from these examples? Well, I think that all of us as business representatives need to ask ourselves, how long can we afford to be closed down if a catastrophic event happens in our business? And is there anything that we can do to prepare for it? So that's what I want to talk about right now. I want to talk about something in our industry that's called an emergency response plan. Now, emergency response plan is designated to help companies address common situations that can cause you to close your doors. The best plans include who to contact, how to act, and what you can do to mitigate the damage while professionals are getting things in order. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. This is a service that we provide here at SERVPRO Winston Salem North. We will go to a business and we will walk through the business, and we will basically categorize what your liabilities are and what the plan is should something happen with one of these systems in your business. So let's go back to the two examples that we used. One of them was a major department, a major nationwide sporting goods store. And though they did not have an emergency response plan with me, they actually had a built-in emergency response plan. For example, when their sprinkler system went off, they knew how to turn the water off to the building. They knew how to do that right away. Well, what that did was that minimized the amount of water that could damage the business. They were also smart enough to notice that as the water migrated from the second floor down to the first floor, that as it was raining on the cash registers, they had enough insight to cover all the cash registers with plastic. Again, they had a plan where they immediately knew how to mitigate the damage that was happening, which makes our job a lot easier. In an emergency response plan, again, we go through with you and we help you put together a plan of how to mitigate these situations, who to call, when to call, and what to do should an unfortunate event happen. A good example of our emergency response plan is one of our managers, Vince Willis. He did an emergency response plan with a local convenience store, and it was very thorough. And we really intentionally tried to stress out or expose the manager of what would happen. So after we went through the emergency response plan with them and they signed up with us, I remember Vince looked at her and said, okay, so let's role play. Your water supply line on your sink in your boys' bathroom just busted, and your bathroom's filling up with water, and it's starting to migrate into the merchandise floor right now. You're on, what do you do? And she was a little shocked by that, and took her back, and she started thinking, and she started to panic a little bit. And this was just a hypothetical situation. Of course, water wasn't filling her restaurant, but it shows you what the manager goes through and the stress the manager goes through. So we tried to guide her a little bit, and we said, okay, well, let's get the water turned off. How do we do that? And she noticed that there wasn't a turn-off supply line on the sink itself. So we needed to get the water turned off to the whole building. And she had to go through this whole process